Hello everyone, welcome back to the next video. In this video, I will show you how to fetch contacts by creating an iOS plugin in Godot game engine. So let's get started. So we will be basically fetching the contacts from the user's contacts app. So I have this documentation open. Based on this documentation also, I have created one cheat sheet. So don't get confused. As usual, you would require macOS and you would require Xcode, which should be installed from the Apple App Store. So I already have Xcode installed, and I have created one empty folder named Godot. You can name it whatever you feel like. It's just for organization's sake, because at the end of this tutorial there will be 3 different projects. That's why I have created this parent folder. So come to Xcode, click on File, New, Package, select multi-platform, select library, click next, and here just go to your Godot folder, which you have created or wherever you want to save it. Now I'm naming this as my library. You can name this whatever you feel like, but do remember this name, because this name will be used in lot other places as well. If you're doing this for the very first time, it's better you follow what I'm doing. So I'm just naming it as my library. I'll click on create. Now the next thing is, we need to add this dependency section inside our package.swift file. So if you see the documentation, they also specify the same thing. So we have already done this, and we have to add this dependency section after the products array. So just paste this over here, and then I'll just do command s. Make sure you press command s, because it will automatically download the Swift Godot dependency using Swift package manager. As you can see over here, it has downloaded it for us. Once that is done, we have to add this platform iOS version 17. Again, this is specified in the documentation. They are using macOS, as you can see over here. So after name, we just have to add this bit of line. I have kept the minimum deployment target as version 17 for iOS, because I was facing issues on lower versions of iOS. That's why. Then we have to add this type dynamic as well. So here you can see after library name, we have to add this type dynamic. Then we have to add this dependencies array as well. So I'll just again copy this. I'll scroll down. Here you can see after target name they have added it. So after target name, I'll just add one comma and I'll paste it over here. Now I'll just improve the indentation a little. You don't have to do it. Now at the time of me recording this video, Swift Godot does not support Swift version 6, but you should check the GitHub documentation, like GitHub repo of Swift Godot, if you're whenever you're watching this, just to check whether it supports Swift version 6 or not. And yes, I'll just change this to 5.10 over here on the first line. Then we have to go to my library.swift file. Inside that, I will just copy bunch of code, and then I'll come back and show it to you. So I need these 3 files. Okay, so firstly, we need to create one Swift file named contacts filter. So I'll just quickly create that. So right click, new empty file, name it as contact filter.swift, and inside that we just have to copy this particular bit of code. So I'll just copy it and paste it over here. So we have just creating an enum with 3 cases: none, mail, and message. Then we need to create a helper class of phone contact. So basically kind of like an NS object. Again, right click, new empty file, phone contact. Okay, again I'll just copy this code and I'll paste it over here. So here we are importing foundation as well as contacts UI. Now if you're seeing all this kind of errors, just ignore it. Like Xcode does not play nicely with Swift UI, so don't worry too much about it. So we are extending NS object, and these are all the things which I want, like name, which can be null, avatar data, phone number, which can be an array of strings, email, is selected, is invited. There are a lot other things as well. So if you are curious, you can use this contact, which is of type CN contact, and check what all other parameters are available inside this. But for now, these all data are fine. Even from this, I'm only going to use this name as well as this phone number. But if you want to use all these other things, you can use that as well. And here we just override this init method as well. Okay, then we need to copy this. I'll copy this and I'll come back over here inside my library.swift, paste over here. So here we import UI kit, we import Swift Godot, and we import contacts UI as well. Then here we have to write this boilerplate code which is present by default when working with Swift Godot, but here you will have to write your own library name. Then we have to create a class, annotate with @main actor as well as @Godot. Then here we created a signal because we need to send the data back to Godot side. Now while sending the data, you might be seeing that okay, it would be an array of phone contact, right? But I'm converting that array of phone contact to a string and sending it back to Godot side, and then on the Godot side you can convert it back to an array. But like I don't know how to send an array of a custom type from Swift to Godot side. Maybe you might know it, that's why I'm just using string. Then here you can see I have created an array of phone contact filters is none by default. Here we have created this method, so whenever this method it will get called from GDScript side, that's why we annotate it with this with @callable. Then first we make sure there is nothing inside our array, then we create a new all contacts. Okay, then we call this get contacts method which we have defined at the bottom, pass our filters, and then we just append it to our all contacts. Then we just create a filter array. Then we just depending on what filter you have applied, so if you want you can apply, like I'm not really applying any of this filter, it is none for me. That's why whatever contacts we have, just we applied it to our filter array, and then we append whatever is present inside our filter array to our phone contacts. And once we have it, we just map it so that I can convert it to a string. I get the name and I get the phone number as well, and send it back to uh, GDScript side. Now be careful that this will be an array, okay? And this is string, but the entire thing has been converted to a string, so you will have to, I think, deserialize it on the GDScript side. That I won't show it to you. I'm not an expert in GDScript, but you can maybe ask an AI tool to do that. Then here is our get contacts. So as you can see, the contact filter is none. Then cn, we create a cn contact store. Then here we want what all keys to fetch. So yeah, full name, phone number, email, and thumbnail image data key. If you want to add more, you can add it. Then here we create a container array of cn container. Then we just fetch everything. Then we get a array cn contact array. We loop over all the containers. Then we use this fetch predicate, pass our container dot identifier. Then we get results out of it, and whatever results we get, we just append it to our results array. Yeah, and return the results back. Okay, then what we have to do is we need to create a build.sh file. So what I'll do, I'll just open this Godot folder which we have created inside VS Code. You can create this build.sh file from Xcode as well. I'm more comfortable doing it via VS Code. So go to my library, and here you will have to create this file build.sh. Okay, then we need to go to this particular URL. So from this we will have to just copy the code. So I'll just go to this URL and I'll copy everything from this build.sh file, and I'll just paste it over here. Then I'll just scroll at the very top, and here inside scheme I will just name it as my library. And you have to add one more thing of skip macro validation. So again I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it over here. Okay, once that is done, we can just open our terminal and we can just cd to our library folder which we have created. I'll clear everything out. Then I'll just close this build.sh. Then you just have to run this particular command. I'll just paste it over here, and after that you need to run this particular command. So instead of debug, you can use the word release as well if you are planning it to deploy it to Apple App Store, but I'm not going to do that. So debug framework is fine for me. I'll just run this command. Now this will take a little bit of time, so let it do its thing. In the meantime, we can open Godot game engine. At the time of recording this video, I'm using Godot 4.3.0, but I think by the time you watch it, Godot 4.4.0 might already be out, but I don't think there will be any breaking changes as such. So just click on this create button, browse to the Godot folder which we have created, and you can name it as whatever you feel like. I'll just name it as my Godot project. Okay, and yeah, you can project, and I'll just click on create and edit. Then I'll just click on project, export, add iOS, click on fix import. you have to enter your app store team id. So you can get your app store team id from this particular url. This will guide this url which I have at the bottom. So this will guide you on how to get the app store team id. I'm not going into that, but make sure you enter your app store team id, otherwise you will not be able to export your project, which is important. And insert bundle identifier, it is typically com dot your company name dot your app name. So that's what I will write over here. Then I'll just close this. I'll create a 2D scene, and here I will just create one button. I will just expand this button a little bit. Okay, and here I'll just name it as get contacts. You can name it whatever you feel like, and I'll quickly command S to save it, and then I'll just create one label as well. And here is our label. I will change the font size, theme override font size to 40. I'll quickly save this as well. I'll attach one script to this. Then I'll just drag our label so that we can get an instance of it. Okay, not like this. Okay, and go to our button, go to the node, add the press signal as well. Then again I'll just copy this code from my practice project. Sorry about that. Okay, so here firstly we'll have to create this particular variable of my library. So again I'll just copy this over here. Then we inside the ready we have to initialize it like this, and we also need to connect our signal. So I'll just paste it over here. So here as you can see, again this should be your own library name as well as this one, and here we connect our signal. Then here we create one method called on user detail signal. So I'll just paste it over here. So we just whatever data we get, we just display it inside our label, and we are converting it to string, but you can deserialize it to a proper array as well if you want to, and maybe display in a list instead of a label, but I'm not going into that. And on button press, we just do this my library dot get contacts. Okay, so I'll just add it over here. Now make sure you run this as well so that our current scene is selected, otherwise you might it might error out for you later on. Then just go to your VS Code, go to your Godot project. Here you have to create a folder called bin. Inside that we have to create a file called whatever is your library name .gd extension. So I'm doing this from VS Code, but you can do it from Godot game engine as well, as you can see over here. Now I'm not able to open this file from Godot game engine, I don't know why. So I'm just doing this from VS Code. So inside this particular file we have to copy this code. So I'll just copy this and paste it over here. Again, if you have generated release framework, you will have to replace this debug with release as well as over here. So this 2 times. Now inside our terminal as well, our project was built successfully. So what you can do is just go to your library, go to bin, go to iOS, and just copy these 2 .framework folders, and then go back to my Godot project, bin, and just paste it over here. Then I'm just creating one more folder called iOS, because you don't have to name it as iOS, you can name it whatever you feel like. It's just that once we export our project, there will be lot of files being created. That's why I've created a separate folder for this. So here I will just come back to Godot game engine, just do command S to save everything. Go to project, export, just click on export project, then just go to the iOS folder and just export it. Now again this will take a little bit of time, so once this is done I'll come back. Okay, so as you can see, the project was exported successfully. Then you just have to go to the iOS folder, double click on this .xcode proj file. Now to access contact, we require the contact access permission as well. So you will have to go to supporting files, right click on this particular file, open as source code, and scroll down, and you just have to add this particular line of code. See ns contact usage description, and why you need it. So here you can specify actually why your app requires this contact permission, but for now I have just entered something random. Now also, when you try to run this, make sure you run it on a real device. It will not work on a simulator due to some graphics thing. I'll just mirror my device, just give me a second. Okay, so here is the output. Let's just wait few seconds. When you run for the very first time in debug mode, it always takes some time. Sometimes it fails as well. Let's just wait. Okay, I'll just click on continue. Okay, so here is the output. I'll click on get contacts. Now I have entered some dummy contacts in my contacts app. I'll just click on continue, and I'll click on share all 4 contacts, and here you can see like this is the first contact, this is the contact number, this is the second contact, it sets contact number, third contact number, fourth contact, and this is the contact number. So hopefully you got the point. That's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.